the wording of this task is somewhat vague and open to interpretation. So the task does not require us to, for example, write a function. It simply asks us to write a program. It also only makes reference to one question. So there's no sense of make this reusable. So given that this is very open to interpretation, let's begin by constructing a program just within the main body of the program without using any function or procedure of our own. So we begin by asking the user a question. We can simply just output a question. Now the question has to have a yes/no response. So we're going to say is 2 a binary digit. Okay, and so the question needs to be able to be responded to. So we're going to have to make use of the scanner class in Java. So we're going to say scanner keep equals new scanner, and it's going to take in system.in as a parameter, and it's going to come up and say, okay, it doesn't recognize scanner, so we'll use the NetBeans IDE to help us here, and we'll let it insert an import statement up here for reading in the user input in this case. So having constructed the scanner variable, we can now read in from the user. So let's now give an additional instruction. Let's say enter yes or yes or y or y, or no or no, or capital N or lowercase n. Okay, so we'll do system.out.print in this case, and then we'll be able to go ahead and read in our input. I'll actually move that next door to the print statement above. Okay, so at this point then we're going to read in what the user has selected. So we're going to build a string variable, and we're going to say, let's call it response, and we're going to say keep dot, and we're going to use next line to read in that response. Sometimes NetBeans is a bit slow here at picking this up. So yep, if we type next, it comes up and shows you the full list. So I'll just do down, 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 and let the NetBeans IDE fill it in for me. I was using the arrow keys there to step down through the options provided. Okay, so now that the answer has been read in, we now have to look at the wording of the task, and it says it tells them whether they were correct or incorrect. So we're simply going to be telling the user. We don't need to do anything further with the answer. So I propose that we proceed with this one just with a simple if statement, and we simply say that if it turns out that the answer was true, or the answer was yes, that then they're told that they got it wrong. Otherwise, if else if they said that it was no, that it's not a binary digit, then they're told that they got it right. And that we maybe put in, just for an added kind of bonus feature, that their answer, their response that they provided wasn't from the allowed options. So let's begin with the first if statement. So we're going to try to construct an expression here that will match what the user has keyed in with one of these 4 permitted values. So what we're going to say here is if the response, let's actually shorten the name of this just to resp, maybe, just for slightly shorter lines of code, and I'll nudge this across to the left a bit because I get the feeling this will become quite long. So if the response, now the data type of response is string, and in the Java language, if you want to compare 2 strings for equality, you can't use the double equals, or it gives sometimes unexpected results. We use the dot equals function. That will return a boolean. As you can see here, it tells you that it returns a boolean, and it compares the string to the specified object. So if it equals, and let's put in our first allowed response, which is yes. Okay. Next, we're going to have to say or, and then we do it all again. And to speed up our coding, I'm going to use copy and paste here. and another allowed response is yes written with lowercase. Or a third one would be that there's just a capital Y, and at this point I'll press enter to push this onto a new line, or response.equals and a lowercase y. And this provides the 4 allowed options. Now I could also push all of the ORs onto separate lines so that we can see the continuous train of like options, and just checking that it marries up with all of the 4 provided. Okay, very simply, if the response is equal to yes, then we're going to output the message that it's incorrect, and that should be sufficient. Now, in the event that the user types in one of the 4 allowable options for no, that means that they got the question right. So what we'll do is, for speed, we'll take a copy of all of this expression, and we'll put it inside the brackets for the second if statement, and we'll change the values to say no with an uppercase, no entirely in lowercase, n as an uppercase, and n in lowercase. And if this turns out to be true, then it's going to be broadly similar to this, except it's going to say correct. Now, the third one is simply going to say that the answer provided was not recognized. Okay, and that's it. So that gives us a solution to the task. We have read in from the user what we think their response is. We are then checking it to see if it's equal to either of the 4 permitted responses. And if it is, then we make a judgment as to its correctness. We have, as a sort of a bonus feature, included the additional possibility that it doesn't match with anything. And rather than not outputting anything, it's probably better just to indicate that something is happening. Okay, so let's test the program. So let's set this project first of all as the main project, and then we can just hit the run button. Okay, is 2 a binary digit? Enter one of these. Okay, let's say first of all that we know that the answer is no, so let's type in the word no and press enter, and that is correct. Let's run it again. Try it this time with maybe lowercase n as our option, and it says correct. Okay, so say we typed in something like false, it will say that the answer provided was not recognized, but it doesn't say that it's right or wrong. Okay, what if we get the answer wrong? We think that 2 is a binary digit. It'll say that it's incorrect. If we say an answer like yep, it's going to say that it was not recognized. Therefore, our solution, simple as it is functional, it is working, and it does address the requirements of the task. What could be done slightly differently is that the logic of the if statement could be moved out to a separate function. That function could return a true or a false, and then we could use another if statement to deal with it accordingly. Similarly, we could move the entire logic of the if statement, the if block, into another function that returns a string, and then the string will actually be incorrect or correct, or perhaps this additional string to say that it wasn't recognized. So we've got room for maneuver, room for improvement here, I feel. I think that it would be a more well-structured program if it were moved out to a separate method, because that would allow less testing overall in the longer-term life cycle of this program. It would allow it to isolate the bugs into that part of a program should this program grow to something much larger, and it promotes reusability and reduces the number of lines of code overall. But all in all, I feel like this is a working solution to the task.